Today, I will introduce you to the god of fire and how this god was seen in 14 different mythologies. So, let's begin. Svarog, Slavic mythology. Svarog was the god of celestial fire, blacksmithing, sky, and some writings considered him also a god of creation. He is an interesting figure in Slavic mythology. Along with Perun, god of thunder, war and justice, and Velez, god of the underworld, lowlands and cattle, he is a member of the powerful triad of gods. His stories vary wildly by region, and though his worship was strongest among the East Slavs, his presence was known to some in the south and west as well. This variation meant he was thought of as the highest deity by some tribes, and little more than an afterthought by others. Fire is prevalent in many depictions of him due to his role with the element, and his status as creator deity means he can also be pictured on a throne with a halo behind him. Jibble, Sumerian mythology. Jibble in Sumerian mythology is the god of fire. As well as being the god of fire, he was also the refiner of metallic objects, and hence the patron of metal workers. Gibil imparted wisdom about metallurgy, and many writers describe him as the god of the forge. He had a mind so vast that even the other gods were unable to fathom him. He was involved in purification customs and rituals as well. Xiuhtecuhtli, Aztec mythology. In the mythology of the Aztecs, Xiuhtecuhtli was a god of fire. A young and vigorous deity, he was regarded as the patron of kings and warriors. His name meant turquoise lord, and images of Xiuhtecuhtli often show him wearing a crown and ornaments made of that much prized blue stone. He played a vital role in Aztec cosmology. According to myths, he rose from a hearth in Mictlan, the Aztec underworld, and passed through the earth to the heavens as a pillar of fire. If that fire, which held the parts of the universe together, were to die, everything would fall apart. Because he linked all the realms of the universe together, Xiuhtecuhtli was thought to be the guide who led souls from this life to the afterlife. Black God, Navajo mythology. In Navajo mythology, Black God is seen as the god of fire and creator of the constellations. Fathered by fire and suckled by a comet, Black God, the personification of fire, is also seen as the inventor of the fire drill. He is not typically portrayed in the admirable, heroic fashion of other gods. Instead, he is imagined as old, slow, and apparently helpless. And other times he is imagined as a moody, humorous trickster who passes himself off as poor so that people will be generous to him. Black God is commonly depicted as having a crescent moon on his forehead, a full moon for a mouth, the Pleiades on his temple, and he wears a buckskin mask covered in sacred charcoal with white paint. Alaz, Turkic mythology. Alaz is the god of fire in Turkic mythology. Also known as Alaz Khan, he is an important deity in folk beliefs. Alaz Khan is depicted as an old man with a torch in his hand. He lives in Uluod, which in Turkish means great fire. His clothes are made of flames, and he has all the power of fire. If he becomes angry, he creates firestorms and wildfires all over the earth. Hephaestus, Greek mythology. By far the most well-known deity from this list is Hephaestus. Hephaestus was an Olympian god of craftsmanship, blacksmiths, and stonemasonry. He was also known as a god of fire, mainly because his crafting experience has emerged from diligently working with the help of fire. Hephaestus had his own palace at Olympus, containing his workshop with an anvil and 20 bellows that worked at his bidding. He forged plenty marvellous weapons and equipment, such as Hermes' winged helmet and sandals, Achilles' armour, bronzed clappers for Hercules, silver arrows for Apollo and Artemis, adamantine blade for Perseus, Aegis breastplate for Zeus, and more. In some cases, he is even said to have helped the Cyclopes forge Zeus's thunderbolt, Poseidon's trident, and the helm of darkness for Hades. Hephaestus is also credited with forging most of the automatons, animated creatures specified for performing certain tasks. Agni, Hindu mythology. Agni is the fire god of Hinduism. He is also the god of the sun and lightning. Agni is described in the scriptures as ruddy-hued and having two faces, one beneficent and one malignant. He has 3 or 7 tongues, hair that stands on end like flames, 3 legs and 7 arms. He is accompanied by a ram, the usual sacrificial animal. Zhurong, Chinese mythology. Zhurong is one of the most important gods in Chinese mythology. He is known as the god of fire and heavenly executioner. His domain is the southern quarter of heaven, where he rides a tiger and presides over the universal order. One of the most famous Chinese mythological legends say that he was so proud of helping to establish heaven and earth that the authority went straight to his head. When Gong came along, boasting of supreme magnificence, it was more than his ego could bear. After much bickering and insult throwing, the two of them elected to settle their differences in true godly fashion. They decided to fight it out. The battle raged across heaven for days, causing great uproar. Finally, both Zhurong and Gong fell overboard and plummeted to earth. Gong admitted defeat and slunk away, taking his own life, while Zhurong returned to heaven in triumph. Pele, Hawaiian mythology. Pele is the Hawaiian goddess of fire, lightning, wind, volcanoes, as well as the creator of the Hawaiian Islands. Pele also carries a staff, which she uses to know if the ground is dry. Pele's home is believed to be the Halemaumau crater at the summit of Kilauea, one of the world's most active volcanoes. However, all of Hawaii lays the setting for her stories, so that to this day, any volcanic eruption in Hawaii is attributed to Pele's longing to be with her true love. Brigid, Celtic mythology. The Celtic goddess Brigid is one of the most venerated deities in the pagan Irish pantheon. She is known as the goddess of healing, poetry and smithcraft, but also as a fire goddess. As a solar goddess, she embodies the element of fire and is commonly depicted with rays of light or fire emanating from her head. It is said that when Brigid was born, she had flames shooting out from her head, and through them she was united with the cosmos. Nusku, Mesopotamian mythology. Nusku, in the Mesopotamian religion, is the god of light and fire. His father was Sin, the moon god. Semitic texts describe Nusku as the king of the night, who illuminates the darkness and repels the demons of the dark. So he was invoked as a protective guardian during the night, where he protected sleeping people, brought them good dreams and prevented nightmares. The last day of the month is sacred to him, so that he is a lunar deity. As fire, he figures much in incantations and rituals. Tohil, Mayan mythology. Tohil was the patron god of the quiche, an advanced Mayan civilization in pre-Columbian times. His principal function was that of a fire deity, and he was also both a sun god and the god of rain. Tohil was also associated with mountains, and he was a god of war, sacrifice and sustenance. Jowangsin, Korean mythology. Jowangsin is the goddess of fire and the hearth in Korean shamanism. As the goddess of the hearth, the rituals dedicated to her were generally kept alive by housewives. Being a goddess of fire is directly related to the fact that she is a goddess of the hearth. It is said that her worshippers, mostly women, made fire rituals to get married faster. The ritual consisted in burning a lotus flower and a silk ribbon and saying an incantation at the same time. Kagu-tsuchi, Japanese mythology. Kagu-tsuchi, meaning incantation of fire, is a Japanese Shinto god of fire. As a fire god in an era of paper houses, it was important to appease him, and as such, he is also seen as a protector of these homes from flame. Considered to be a deity either made of flame or perpetually expelling fire, even as an infant, this created a large issue. When Kagu-tsuchi was born, his mother, Izanami, was so badly burned that she died. In revenge, Kagu-tsuchi's father, Izanagi, cut off his head, then sliced his body into 8 pieces which became 8 volcanoes. Kagu-tsuchi is also an example of a worldwide trend among volcanic gods. Although not directly related to one another, he is one of several gods that links volcanoes to metalworking and human invention. What god did you find most interesting among these gods of fire? Who particularly caught your attention and why? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel by hitting the notification bell to be notified when new videos arrive. Yours truly, Mythos, the Historian.